Now, former Principal High Court Judge Msagha Mbogholi has just finished presenting his credentials before the Judicial Service Commission, which is holding interviews for the Kenya's next Chief Justice. Let us now bring in our reporter Murimi Mwangi to just recap the proceedings so far and some of the things we should expect in the next interviewing sessions. A very good afternoon to you, Murimi. Many thanks for joining us on News Desk. Msagha Mbogholi has just finished his interview there with the Judicial Service Commission. How did it go down?
Good afternoon, Akisa. Quite an interesting session for the JSC as the interview of former Principal High Court Judge Msagha Mbogholi, aged 64 now, happened here at the Supreme Court. And of course, key questions were put to him not only on his understanding of the law and in particular matters to do with the Supreme Court, but also key issues of general knowledge about Kenya. And a question was put to him on how well he understands devolution. And of course, a follow-up question to that was who is the governor for Mandera, who is the governor for Tharaka Nithi, and of course, who is the governor for West Pokot. Interestingly, Justice Mbogholi happened not to know any of the three, but of course, the person who had asked that question, Court of Appeal Judge Mohammed Warsame, said that was a question that was meant to test his knowledge of Kenyan affairs, given that as the head of the judiciary, he will be interacting with disputes and many cases emanating from different quarters of the country, and he ought to understand issues Kenya. But of course, other areas of focus today was on what he intends to do for the country as Chief Justice, and he was categorical that he would expand the access to justice for the common mwananchi. That was a point that was also given by Justice Al-Nashir Visram when he appeared before the JSC yesterday. But of course, another key area of focus was on a larger inclusion of other stakeholders of the judiciary on matters of easing the access to justice, and he raised concern about there being only one forensic lab that has to handle all criminal matters that emanate from all the courts in the country, with special focus on capital offenses, robbery with violence and murder cases. And when evidence has to be interrogated forensically, then that evidence has to be brought to that one lab, and he has pledged to ensure that there's an expansion of that service to ensure, of course, that more Kenyans get a middle ground upon which service delivery to Kenyans can be enhanced, while at the same time not compromising the independence of the individual judges as well as the judiciary. Next, of course, will be the other candidates. Initially, they were to be 6 candidates eyeing the position of Chief Justice, but pursuant to that ruling from the High Court yesterday, the JSC has been forced to open the doors to the interview of 7 more candidates that had their applications rejected earlier for the position of Chief Justice, and 3 extra others for the position of Deputy Chief Justice. And therefore, we are looking at
that reporter Murimi Mwangi joins us from the Supreme Court, where former Principal High Court Judge Msagha Mbogholi has